Mark Zuckerberg can give a full-throated apology here, but at the end of the day, if he didn't break the law, and if Facebook users, you are not seeing with great speed people deleting Facebook. At the end of the day, could we see this as a push for him?
I think Mark Zuckerberg's statement reflects a pattern we've seen, which is they start with a lot of denial, and then eventually they issue statements, and then the question is always whether the changes actually are implemented. We've found they're often not. This week has been different because at one point they lost $50 billion in market value. Like you, I just got the statement. He says here as well, I started Facebook. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for what happens on the platform. I'm serious, Zuckerberg says, about doing what it takes to protect our community. And then he tries to sort of put it in a context and says this issue involving Cambridge, which of course is Trump's digital firm, should no longer happen with new apps today, but that doesn't change what happened in the past. We'll learn from our experience to secure our platform, and I want to thank everyone who believes in our mission. It will take a long time to fix these problems. Digesting what he's saying, I think it's late. I think it still involves minimization, and I think it fundamentally misses the larger point, which is something you and I have been reporting on, which is Facebook is not just in the crosshairs because of one issue with one developer, even one as famous as Cambridge. Facebook is in the crosshairs for the larger context of the abuse of fake news, the refusal of Zuckerberg to go face down congressional investigators. He sent his lawyer. He wouldn't go face them. He did go meet with Medvedev when he had business in Russia. He did go to China, where the New York Times reported they were developing a censorship app. So this is what I'll say as a reporter. We always welcome new information. Facebook putting out this statement is better than nothing, but it's only a tiny bit better than nothing. It's a paper statement. And this, by the way, in the larger context, is a company that demands all of our personal data, all of our information, all of our privacy. And it says that because that's good for transparency, we should all live with it. This is a company that demands transparency and personal information from its users and gives up very little when they're under the gun like today.
We can complain about that all day long.
I'm not complaining, I'm reporting.
But hold on. Facebook has thus far abided by the law because they're virtually unregulated. And the people who give Facebook information give it to them by their own free will. And we might not realize what they're then doing with it. But can we expect Facebook or anyone to self-police? No one does.
Well, I'll give a short answer. And I see my colleague Anna here, who's been reporting the Cambridge story all week. The short answer is what consent and knowing consent means online, that's still being figured out. In the Cambridge case, which has cost them billions and which he's responding to, part of the issue was a type of fraud where people didn't understand exactly what they were giving up, and the misuse of their data went global. So I think the short answer is no. Facebook is clearly under the gun, under market pressure, under pressure from Senator Mark Warner on MSNBC today saying he wants to hear directly from Zuckerberg, and under, yes, user pressure to say you're not doing enough to protect us. I'm not saying there are federal felonies at this juncture, but this is a global company. They're subject to laws in Europe. They're subject to, right now, review of whether this violates prior consent decrees. I am seeing Facebook in the crosshairs this week like I've never seen it.
I still find it stunning that Anna Schechter, we're bringing you back into this conversation. You were here earlier talking Cambridge Analytica. But what's stunning to me is that the president has not weighed in. And the president is hardly a friend of tech. You know, he goes after Jeff Bezos and Amazon. If we looked and said, well, who's Facebook's biggest competitor? And we thought China. And we thought Tencent. If we thought Alibaba, they are close to the government. It's amazing that President Trump, you see him go after companies like Nordstrom when they drop Ivanka's line. And this is a major issue. And yes, he's got all this entanglement with Cambridge Analytica, but he's not saying anything.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's important to note that Cambridge Analytica at the time in 2013, according to Zuckerberg's own statement, they didn't violate Facebook policies. So basically this app that Alexander Kogan created and the thousands of other apps that were working on that platform, they all access the friend data of all these unwitting people who had absolutely no idea that their personal information was being accessed. So that's just incredibly stunning. Now, Facebook says here, Mark Zuckerberg is admitting that in 2015, journalists at The Guardian told them that, hey, you know, there was a breach here and Cambridge Analytica got that data. So what has happened between 2015 and now? That's really a big question.
Is this going to be a question, though, for lawmakers, for regulators? Can't we say to them, I think back to the financial crisis. And after the financial crisis, we were so mad at the banks. And we said, why didn't these guys go to jail? The reason they didn't go to jail is because they didn't break the law, because there weren't laws in place to protect your average citizen. Could the takeaway here be there aren't laws in place to protect the average social media user?
Yes, I think you're putting your finger on it. What is law? Law is old politics.
He goes deep. He goes deep.
You ready? We're getting real deep.
Oh, do it.
As they always say in Silicon Valley, we're getting real in the field. Law is old politics. So the things that politicians cared about 20 years ago, 10 years after that get written into law, and then agencies pop up. So was this front and center? No. Right now, to pick one example that was so crucial in fake news, when you run an ad on TV, you have to disclose a lot about it.
This is the best
When
example.
you run an ad on Facebook, you don't. That is the fault of Congress, not Facebook. But when Facebook comes back and lobbies, they lobbied, and we reported this on The Beat, they lobbied extensively to argue that they should not have to do disclosure. Then we come out with a new statement today saying, oh, we're so shocked by this, we're going to ban developers, we're going to make these changes.
Baloney.
This was all a business conflict to begin with, because they would rather have a clicky, active, app-fueled site as much as possible whenever they can, and then they backtrack. That's the pattern I've seen.
This man is breathing hot fire, because I will defend Congress for a moment. We know that social media and technology moved at light speed, extraordinarily fast, and we know that the government moves like dinosaurs. But Facebook and these other social media companies didn't just advance technology, they have massive lobbying efforts that protected them from regulation moving forward, and that is an issue.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.